Welcome to my channel, Hotspot with Loveth, the ultimate spot for all things entertainment, ranging from celebrity gists, reviews, interesting stories, and African folktales. Subscribe now. Ngozi Okafor, having finally confirmed Tunde's real identity, shared the groundbreaking discovery with her husband, Bright, and their daughter, Zola. The news was met with utter disbelief. Bright's normally composed demeanor faltered, and Zola, her eyes wide, looked from her mother to the DNA result in her hands, struggling to comprehend the magnitude of what they were being told. Bright Okafor, a formidable figure in both the business world and at home, summoned Tunde to the mansion. Tunde, still reeling from the revelations of his true parentage, found himself standing awkwardly in the grand living room. The opulence of the space was overwhelming: polished marble floors, expensive art pieces adorning the walls, and a chandelier that seemed to sparkle with every ray of sunlight. "Sit down, Tunde," Bright said, his voice a mix of authority and curiosity. Tunde did as he was told, feeling out of place in this environment. Bright, along with Ngozi and Zola, sat across him. Bright's piercing gaze never left Tunde's face as he began to question him about his past. "Tell us about your life, Tunde. How did you end up in the orphanage?" "I don't know the full story," he answered. "I grew up in an orphanage from as far back as I can remember. They told me I was found wandering the streets as a small child. No one knew where I came from or who my parents were." The room fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in. Bright finally broke the silence, his voice softer but firm. "Well, you're part of this family now. You will be lectured on the ways of this great family, and your sister Zola, who put you through. I really hope we can bond." As he stood up, he placed a hand on Tunde's shoulder and gave it a reassuring tap before walking away. Tunde remained seated, feeling a maelstrom of emotions. This luxurious life, these people, his family, were offering him everything he had never had. Yet, his heart was heavy with the knowledge of the harsh conditions under which he and his fellow workers had toiled. He looked at the splendor around him, conflicted. Was this truly where he belonged? He asked himself. As Bright disappeared down the hallway, Tunde's resolve began to solidify. He stood up, looking his newly found mother Ngozi in the eyes. "I'm sorry, Ma'am, but I'd prefer the humble life of a worker. I would rather work for my own wealth than be handed luxury." Ngozi's eyes filled with tears. "You're my son, Chidi. I've searched for you all this while. You belong here. This is your home." Tunde's heart ached at the genuine love and pain in her voice. But his decision was made. "I'm sorry, Ma. The only condition that would make me accept this family as mine is if the workers are provided with better working conditions and paid well so that they can earn a living, not just survive." Ngozi and Zola exchanged looks of surprise and admiration for the young man's integrity and compassion. Tunde turned and left the mansion, his footsteps echoing in the grand hallway, a stark contrast to the life of privilege he was walking away from. That evening, Ngozi relayed Tunde's conditions to Bright. He wants the workers to have better conditions and fair pay. He won't come back until that happens. Bright sat up, his expression one of incredulity and anger. "What nonsense," he exclaimed. "Does he not understand what it takes to run an empire? This isn't some fairy tale where everyone lives happily ever after. There are costs, margins, profit to be maintained." Ngozi reached out to touch his arm, trying to calm him. "Babe, please, he is our son. He's been through so much and this is important to him. Can't we at least consider it?" Bright shook his head vehemently. "No, Ngozi, we've worked too hard to build this empire. We can't afford to make changes that could jeopardize everything, especially the profits we make. He needs to understand the realities of the business world." Ngozi sighed deeply, her heart torn between her husband's pragmatism and her son's idealism. "But Bright, what if he's right? What if we can do better by our workers? It might cost us in the short term, but in the long run, it could strengthen the company, create loyalty and a better reputation." "No! If he doesn't want to be a part of his real family, then he can do as he wishes. After all, We had already forgotten about him and had been doing fine. His tone was final, leaving no room for argument. Ngozi's heart sank. She was left in a whirlwind of emotions, feeling both the pain of her son's rejection and the frustration of her husband's inflexibility. Bright was a man who did what he wanted, often without regard for the emotional ramifications. This unwavering stance had built their empire, but at what personal cost? As she watched Bright leave the room, his shoulders squared with determination, she felt a deep confusion settle over her. How could she bridge the gap between her husband's cold pragmatism and her son's passionate idealism? Her mind raced, trying to find a solution that would honor both her family. She knew the path forward wouldn't be easy, but she was determined to find a way to reconcile these two powerful forces in her life.